Dawn, southern African savanna, late dry season. The light arrives slowly, filtered through a pale horizon of dust and distant heat. The grasses, once tall and green, now stand brittle and yellow, their edges sharpened by months without rain. A faint wind moves across the plains, carrying the dry scent of earth and the distant musk of animals that have passed in the night. There is little sound, only the soft rasp of insects and the occasional call of a waking bird. In the half-light, a lion moves. He is alone, a mature male, but not in his prime. His mane is uneven, darkened in places with age and dust. Each step is deliberate, measured against a fatigue that lingers in his limbs. Hunger has thinned him. The last successful hunt lies days behind. Ahead, near a cluster of low scrub, something shifts, small, low to the ground, moving with slow, deliberate confidence, not grazing, not alert in the way antelope are. It does not flee. The lion pauses. His head lowers slightly, eyes narrowing not with caution but calculation. In a landscape where prey is scarce and energy must be spent with precision, even the smallest opportunity can carry weight. The shape turns slightly, revealing a bristling outline against the rising light. Quills catch the dawn. The porcupine does not run. It continues forward, unhurried, unaware, or indifferent to the presence behind it. The lion begins to move again. Closer, silent. A decision is forming, not from instinct alone, but from necessity. Hunger reduces hesitation. It reshapes risk. The distance closes. The wind shifts. And in this brief, fragile moment between approach and action, the balance of survival hangs on miscalculation, one that has ended the lives of lions before. The African savanna is not a uniform landscape. It is a shifting mosaic of grasslands, scattered acacia trees, seasonal water sources, and corridors of movement shaped by rainfall patterns and migratory herds. In the southern regions, where the dry season can extend for months, life is defined less by abundance and more by endurance. Vegetation thins. Waterholes shrink. Prey species alter their ranges in search of sustenance. And for predators, each decision becomes a calculation of energy against uncertainty. The lion panther or leo is among the most specialized apex predators of this ecosystem. Its physiology reflects this role. Forward-facing eyes for depth perception, powerful forelimbs built for grappling, retractable claws designed to anchor into flesh, and a bite force capable of suffocating large ungulates. Lions are not built for speed over long distances, but for explosive bursts of power. A successful hunt depends on proximity, coordination, if in a pride, and timing, but not all lions hunt under ideal conditions. A solitary male, especially one displaced from a pride or aging out dominance, operates under different constraints. Without cooperative hunting, his success rate drops significantly. Studies across regions such as the Okavango Delta and Kruger National Park show that lone males experience lower kill frequency and must often target weaker, slower, or smaller prey. Scavenging becomes more common. Risk tolerance increases, not by choice but by necessity. Hunger alters behavior in measurable ways. Observational research indicates that under caloric deficit, predators expand their prey profiles, sometimes engaging species typically avoided. This includes animals with defensive adaptations that make them energetically costly or dangerous to attack. The African crested porcupine, Hystrix africoaustralis, is one such species. It is not large by savanna standards, typically weighing between 10 to 20 kilograms. Its body is low, heavy-set, supported by short, sturdy limbs. But its most defining feature is its coat, modified hairs that form rigid quills, some exceeding 30 centimeters in length. These quills are not projectiles. They do not shoot. Instead, they function as a passive but highly effective defense system. When threatened, the porcupine erects these quills, increasing its apparent size and creating a dense barrier of sharpened keratin. It produces a distinct rattling sound by vibrating hollow tail quills. An auditory warning evolved to deter approach. If the threat persists, the porcupine will reverse direction rapidly, driving its quills into the attacker with surprising speed and precision. This defense is not theoretical. It is well documented in predator injury reports. Lions, leopards, hyenas, all have been recorded with quills embedded in their faces, paws, and chests. In some cases, The consequences are severe. Quills can penetrate deeply, breaking off under the skin due to microscopic backward-facing barbs. These embedded fragments migrate over time, driven by muscle movement, sometimes reaching vital organs. Infections are common. Hunting efficiency declines. Starvation can follow. Despite this, porcupines are not immune from predation. Experienced predators, particularly leopards, have developed techniques to flip them onto their backs, exposing the unprotected underside. Some lions have also been observed employing similar strategies, though such behavior is less consistent and often learned rather than instinctive. For an inexperienced or desperate lion, the encounter is different. The porcupine does not flee in the way typical prey does. It does not trigger the same chase response. Its stillness, its slow movement, can be misinterpreted, not as defense but as vulnerability. This misreading is critical. Predatory behavior in lions is heavily influenced by movement patterns. Erratic flight stimulates pursuit. Controlled, deliberate motion can confuse the sequence. In the dry season, when larger prey like wildebeest or zebra migrate or become harder to catch due to depleted water sources concentrating them in guarded areas, smaller animals become more visible in the landscape. Rodents, hares, and occasionally porcupines move between feeding grounds under the cover of early light or dusk. The lion's energy reserves dictate urgency. Each failed hunt carries a cost, not just in calories lost, but in strength diminished. Over time, this compounds. A weakened lion cannot sustain long pursuits. It must rely on proximity and surprise. It must choose targets that appear attainable within a short burst of effort. In this context, the porcupine presents a paradox. It is small, it is slow, it does not flee, and yet it is one of the most dangerous animals a lion can choose to attack. Field observations from wildlife reserves in South Africa and Botswana have recorded multiple instances of lions dying as a result of porcupine injuries. In necropsies, quills have been found lodged in the skull, penetrating the nasal cavity, or embedded deep within the chest. In one documented case, a young male lion was found with over 50 quills in its face and forelimbs, severely impairing its ability to eat. These are not frequent events, but they are consistent enough to form a pattern. The savanna does not reward miscalculation. Every species within it carries evolutionary adaptations shaped by millions of years of pressure, predation, competition, climate. The lion represents power and dominance, but it is not exempt from these pressures. Its success depends not just on strength, but on judgment. And in moments where that judgment is compromised by hunger, by inexperience, or by the illusion of easy prey, the outcome can shift rapidly. The porcupine continues to move across the dry grass, its quills rising and falling with each step, a silent signal of defense. Behind it, the lion closes a distance. The encounter is no longer hypothetical. It is unfolding. In the ecological structure of the African savanna, both lion and porcupine occupy roles that rarely intersect, yet are tightly bound by the same pressures of survival. The lion stands at the apex of the trophic hierarchy, exerting top-down control on herbivore populations. Its presence shapes the movement, behavior, and even reproductive strategies of prey species. Through predation, lions indirectly influence vegetation patterns, water distribution, and the broader stability of the ecosystem. Their role is not constant dominance, but regulation, removing the weak, the injured, the slow. The porcupine, by contrast, operates within a different layer of the system. It is primarily herbivorous, feeding on roots, tubers, bark, and fallen fruit. In doing so, it acts as an ecological engineer. Its digging aerates the soil, influencing nutrient cycles and seed distribution. Bark stripping behavior, while sometimes destructive to individual trees, contributes to the shaping of woodland edges and regrowth patterns. Unlike grazing herbivores, which move in herds and depend on open visibility, the porcupine relies on concealment, nocturnal activity, and a defense strategy that allows it to function without speed or group protection. This divergence in ecological roles explains why direct encounters between lions and porcupines are relatively uncommon. Their activity patterns differ. Lions are primarily nocturnal to crepuscular, while porcupines are strictly nocturnal. Yet during transitional periods, dawn and dusk, these boundaries blur. Movement overlaps. Visibility is limited, and it is within these narrow windows that misidentification or misjudgment can occur. From a behavioral standpoint, lions are guided by a sequence often described as a predatory motor pattern: orient, stalk, chase, capture, and kill. Each phase is triggered by specific stimuli, particularly movement. Prey animals that flee erratically activate the chase response, locking the predator into a pursuit that is difficult to interrupt. The porcupine disrupts this sequence. It does not run in panic. It does not scatter. Instead, it slows, turns, and presents its defense. This creates a behavioral ambiguity. To an experienced predator, the raised quills and rattling tail are clear signals, warnings that override the impulse to attack. Studies of lion behavior suggest that individuals learn to recognize and avoid certain high-risk prey through direct experience or social learning. Within a pride, cubs observe adult hunting patterns, gradually refining their understanding of what constitutes viable prey. But a solitary lion lacks this reinforcement. If it has been displaced from a pride at a young age, or if it has spent extended periods without consistent hunting success, its behavioral calibration may be incomplete. It may not fully interpret the porcupine's warning display as a deterrent. Instead, the lack of flight may register as weakness, a failure to respond in the expected way. This is where error enters the system. The porcupine's defense is not active aggression. It does not pursue or attack predators unless provoked. Its strategy is based on deterrence and retaliation. When threatened, it aligns its body to maximize quill exposure, often turning its back to the predator. The tail quills, shorter, hollow, and loosely attached, produce a distinct rattling sound when shaken. This serves as an auditory signal, particularly effective in low visibility conditions. If the predator continues to approach, the porcupine escalates. It may stamp its feet, charge backward, or pivot sharply, driving its quills into the attacker. The motion is fast, controlled, and targeted. Unlike passive contact, this is a deliberate defensive maneuver aimed at vulnerable areas: face, chest, forelimbs. The quills themselves are a product of evolutionary refinement, composed of keratin. They are both rigid and flexible, capable of penetrating skin and muscle without breaking on impact. Along their surface are microscopic barbs that anchor the quill once embedded. This prevents easy removal and increases the likelihood of deeper migration into tissue over time. For a lion, the consequences of such injuries extend beyond immediate pain. Facial injuries can impair vision or damage the nasal passages, reducing a lion's ability to detect scent, a critical component of hunting. Quills embedded in the paws interfere with locomotion, making it difficult to stalk or sprint. Chest and shoulder injuries affect the mechanics of grappling and subduing prey. Even a minor reduction in efficiency can shift the balance from survival to decline. Longitudinal studies of injured predators indicate a strong correlation between physical impairment and mortality. A lion that cannot hunt effectively enters a feedback loop. Reduced food intake leads to further weakness, compromising its ability to recover or compete. In this context, the porcupine's defense is not just a deterrent. It is a survival equalizer. It allows a relatively small, slow-moving herbivore to coexist within a landscape dominated by large carnivores. It does not eliminate predation risk entirely, but it raises the cost of attack to a level that most predators are unwilling or unable to pay. There are exceptions. Some lions, particularly those with prior exposure, learn to exploit the porcupine's vulnerabilities by approaching from the front and using their forelimbs to flip the animal onto its back. They can access the unprotected underside. This technique requires precision, timing, and a willingness to engage at close range without triggering the defensive strike. Such behavior is not widespread. It is situational, often dependent on individual experience rather than species-wide adaptation. For the lion now moving to the dry grass, there is no evidence of such experience. Its approach remains direct. The porcupine continues forward, its quills partially raised, the faint rattle beginning to emerge as the distance narrows. The sound is subtle, easily lost in the ambient noise of Savanna, but it carries meaning, an encoded warning shaped by generations of encounters. The lion does not stop. At this range, the decision is no longer abstract. The sequence has advanced beyond observation into action. Muscles tense. Focus narrows. The final phase approaches. In ecosystems like this, Survival is not determined by strength alone, but by the accuracy of interpretation, of signals, of behavior, of risk. And here, in the narrowing space between predator and prey, that interpretation is about to be tested. The first angle to consider is survival biology, the fundamental calculus that governs every choice in the African savanna. For a lion, energy expenditure and caloric intake are intertwined with life expectancy. A failed hunt is not merely a setback. It is a direct threat to survival. Solitary males, in particular, face a precarious existence. Without the cooperative hunting efficiency of pride, they must rely on stealth, ambush, and opportunistic selection of prey. Each movement, each calculated step, carries weight. Every misjudgment compounds risk. The porcupine, conversely, embodies survival strategy rooted not in speed, but in deterrence. Its quills are not weapons in conventional sense. They are passive defenses, designed to impose a cost on any predator that challenges it. Evolution has optimized the strategy over millions of years. Behavioral studies indicate that predators quickly learn, either individually or socially, to avoid the porcupine's quills. This creates a rare instance where a smaller, slower animal can survive encounters with apex predators. For the lion, a single miscalculation, underestimating the porcupine's defensive capacity, can result in injury severe enough to compromise its ability to hunt again. From a hunting perspective, the lion's approach relies on instinctual sequencing. Predatory behavior follows a structured motor pattern: locate, stalk, orient, attack, and kill. Movement is a primary trigger. Erratic fleeing activates pursuit. Slow or non-threatening behavior can confuse the predator's pattern recognition. The porcupine subverts this system. It does not flee. Its slow, deliberate movements, combined with raised quills, can appear as vulnerability to a hungry or inexperienced predator. Studies of predator-prey interactions demonstrate that such misinterpretations are often fatal. In one documented case from Kruger National Park, a young male lion sustained multiple quill injuries to the face and chest, rendering it unable to hunt effectively and eventually leading to starvation. Intelligence versus instinct also plays a role. Lions possess both learned behavior and innate predatory patterns. Cubs observe adults to refine hunting techniques, but solitary or displaced individuals must rely on incomplete experience. In contrast, the porcupine operates almost entirely on instinctual cues. When threatened, it raises quills, rattles its tail, and pivots to strike with its posterior. This combination of predictable defense and predator misreading creates a narrow window where instinct and error intersect. The social and territorial context of the lion adds another dimension to the encounter. Lions are highly social animals, with pride structures that enforce cooperative hunting, territory defense, and communal rearing of cubs. A solitary male, however, has lost this network of support. Without allies to share the burden of hunting or warn of danger, it must compensate through heightened vigilance and careful judgment. Each decision carries amplified consequences. Attacking a porcupine, a species rarely taken by pride-coordinated hunts, represents a departure from the typical low-risk prey choices. It is an improvisation born from necessity, yet one fraught with hidden peril. Parenting behavior is absent in solitary males, but indirectly relevant. Adult lions teach cubs to discern risk. The porcupine is a perfect example of how lack of experience can be lethal. Cubs observe adult responses to potential prey, learning which species are feasible targets and which are dangerous. A solitary lion deprived of this cultural transmission must navigate these hazards alone, often learning the hard way. This intersection of learning, instinct, and misjudgment is a recurring theme in wildlife behavior studies, one that demonstrates a balance between caution and hunger. Rival species and interspecific competition further complicate decision-making. A lion's choices are shaped not only by the immediate prey, but also by the presence of competitors such as hyenas or leopards. Hyenas may scavenge kills, increasing the urgency of a successful hunt. Leopards, adept at flipping porcupines to access their unprotected underside, exemplify the predator specialization that lions often lack in solitary conditions. When these ecological pressures converge, scarce prey, competition, and risk-prone choices, the consequences of a single miscalculated attack become magnified. Finally, the moral neutrality of nature frames this encounter. There is no judgment, no cruelty, no intent beyond survival. The porcupine acts according to its evolved defenses. The lion acts according to hunger and instinct. The outcome, whether success, injury, or failure, is not a reflection of good or bad, but the impartial law of survival. Nature's balance is maintained not through fairness, but through the relentless interplay of adaptation, risk, and consequence. Now the stage is set. The lion approaches, driven by hunger, instinct, and necessity. The porcupine advances slowly, quills raised, tail vibrating subtly in warning. The air is tense, charged with the weight of evolutionary history. One misstep will determine which of these creatures continues to survive, and which will bear the cost. The lion crouches low, shoulders rippling beneath its tawny coat. The dry grass bends under each silent step, the brittle blades cracking faintly, but masking the predator's intent in the ambient rustle of the wind. Dawn has fully broken, casting a wash gold over plains, and every shadow seems elongated, merging animal and landscape into one. The porcupine moves steadily ahead, unaware, or perhaps indifferent, to the predator narrowing the distance behind it. Its quills rise higher with each measured step, tail quivering in the faint wind, rattling softly, a warning carried in sound and motion. The lion pauses, calculating. Hunger tugs at precision, urging attack. Caution whispers restraint. Its eyes track the porcupine's movement, scanning for weak points. Every muscle in his body is poised for a rapid strike. The explosive bursts of power lines depend on, but this is no antelope, no fleeing impala to trigger instinctive chase sequences. This is a living array of defensive armor, a bundle of rigid quills capable of inflicting severe injury. A breath passes. The porcupine turns slightly, body aligned toward the approaching lion. The predator adjusts, lowering its head, claws flexing. Its decision is made, not a calculated masterstroke, but a hunger-driven misjudgment. With a silent, powerful lunge, the lion closes the final meters. The porcupine reacts with astonishing speed. Tail quills vibrate violently, producing a sharper rattling warning. The body pivots. Its rear is thrust backward, not in retreat, but as a defensive weapon. Quills embed in the lion's forelimbs and muzzle. Pain flashes instantaneously. Instinctive recoil is overridden by momentum and hunger. The lion flinches, snapping its head to shake off the quills. One strikes deep into its cheek, another into its tongue. Each embedded quill carries microscopic barbs, resisting removal. Blood appears, not from predatory triumph, but from defensive retaliation. The lion stumbles backward, mouth agape, swiping paws at quills now lodged beneath its skin. The attack fails. Energy expended, opportunity lost. Even the smallest quill, properly embedded, impairs sensory perception and jaw mechanics, critical tools for a predator reliant on precision strikes. A misjudged target transforms from opportunity to liability in seconds. For the porcupine, the encounter is textbook defense. Quills hold firm. Tail rattles persist, an auditory reinforcement of its impenetrable armor. Feet stamp against the earth, asserting space. The predator's approach has been neutralized without injury to its own body. It moves onward slowly, unhurried, leaving the lion to reassess, panting, disoriented, and injured. Minutes pass. The lion licks at puncture wounds, shaking its head to dislodge quills. Each embedded barb resists, lodging deeper with motion. Studies of predator injury suggest that even superficial quill penetration can impair feeding for days, reduce hunting efficiency, and in extreme cases, result in death if untreated. This is particularly true for solitary lions, who lack pride support for shared feeding or social grooming. To remove impediments, in these moments, the savanna is indifferent. No predator or prey intervenes. No observer alters the course of survival. Hunger, instinct, and defense collide in real time, producing consequences measurable in injury, lost opportunity, and energy deficit. The lion retreats, not defeated in a moral sense, but pragmatically constrained. Each step back is a recognition, conscious or instinctual, of the cost imposed by misjudgment. The porcupine, quills lowered only slightly, continues its slow progression across the dry plains, a solitary figure armored in evolution's lesson. The tension dissipates gradually, but the impact remains. Energy spent cannot be regained instantly. Pain cannot be undone. Hunger persists, now compounded by injury. The predator has miscalculated. Survival has enforced correction. The lion's retreat is deliberate but uneven. Each step is accompanied by the subtle stiffness of muscles irritated by quills embedded beneath the skin. Its jaw, lips, and tongue bear the sharp reminders of the encounter, impeding its ability to feed and hunt effectively. Observational studies indicate that even minor quill injuries can alter predatory efficiency for days, particularly in solitary males deprived of pride support. Energy reserves are now strained further, hunger intensifies, and the margin for error narrows. The savanna remains quiet, save for the faint rustle of dry grass and the distant call of a hornbill. Predators and prey alike adjust unconsciously to subtle shifts in the environment. The lion's miscalculation creates ripples across this microcosm. The predator is temporarily removed from immediate hunting pressure, granting nearby herbivores an unintentional reprieve. Though imperceptible, these effects cascade to the ecosystem, a reminder of how even a single defensive adaptation can influence broader ecological balance. Meanwhile, the porcupine continues its methodical progress. It does not pause to revel in victory. Survival is neither celebratory nor moral. The quills, now fully erected and slightly rattling, serve as constant deterrents, signaling to any future predators the cost of aggression. Its nocturnal habits will soon resume, yet for the moment, it occupies the sunlit space, unscathed and mobile. In this interaction, evolution's design is evident. A small, slow herbivore has repelled a predator several times its size, demonstrating the principle that survival is dictated not only by strength but by adaptation and risk management. For the lion, the consequences of the encounter will unfold over the following days. Embedded quills threaten infection. Mobility may be compromised. The energy deficit caused by the failed attack increases the urgency of subsequent hunts. Solitary males in such circumstances are statistically more vulnerable to starvation or injury from other sources, whether rival lions or environmental stressors. The porcupine's defense has imposed a tangible cost on a predator at the top of the food chain, a rare but ecologically significant event. As the sun rises higher, the plains resume their rhythm. Insects hum, birds call, and the heat begins to thicken the air, shimmering above the parched grass. The lion licks at the remaining quills, eyes narrowing as it scans the horizon of prey that does not threaten its immediate survival. Its muscles ache, its senses are tinged with pain, and yet life demands continuation. The porcupine, now a shadow moving among the tufts of grass, demonstrates that the savanna does not reward recklessness. Each species plays its role, guided by instinct, experience, and evolutionary design. The encounter is over, but the consequences linger. Injuries will shape behavior. Hunger will dictate future decisions. And the balance of life on the savanna, delicate, unforgiving, precise, continues without pause. The lion rests in a small patch of shade beneath a sparse acacia, quills still embedded in its muzzle and forelimbs. The pain is subtle but persistent, a constant reminder of miscalculation. Observational studies of predator recovery indicate that embedded quills can interfere with feeding, grooming, and movement for days to weeks. For a solitary male, this is not a minor inconvenience. It is a critical handicap. Each failed opportunity to hunt compounds a deficit in energy reserves, increasing the likelihood of further misjudgments. Over the next hours, the lion's behavior shifts subtly. Its stalking is slower, more cautious. The head tilts slightly to minimize pressure on quill-embedded areas. Forelimbs flex with more care to avoid aggravating injuries. In essence, the lion is forced into a period of enforced adaptation. In larger prides, adults might assist in care or share prey to compensate for injury. Alone, the male bears the full burden of recovery. Its survival now hinges not only on instinct and skill, but on its ability to navigate injury and conserve energy. The porcupine, having continued its steady journey across the savanna, retreats to denser scrub as the sun climbs. Its activity will shift fully into nocturnal patterns, remaining largely hidden during the day. The quills, now slightly lowered, still serve as a deterrent to other predators that may have observed the encounter. In ecological terms, the porcupine has reinforced the adaptive value of its defense. Its survival is a testament to evolutionary investment. the development of specialized defensive structures, and predictable behaviors that influence predator choices at the top of the food chain. This interaction leaves imprints beyond the immediate participants. Nearby herbivores gain a brief reprieve. Predators scanning the area may observe the lion's hesitation, adjusting their own hunting choices. The event, while brief, echoes through the behavioral ecology of the region. It is a reminder that even the apex predator is constrained by the laws of risk and reward. Evolution does not exempt the strong. It merely imposes consequences commensurate with action. In the days following, the lion will face incremental challenges. Minor infections may set in around quill wounds. Energy expenditure will need careful management. The search for prey may require longer, riskier journeys. Its body bears the cost of misjudgment, and behavior will adapt accordingly. These are not stories of heroism, but of survival, real, observable, and consequential. As the days progress, the lion's injuries begin to shape its decisions. The embedded quills in its face and forelimbs subtly alter its movements, making stealthy stalking more difficult and precise lunges less reliable. Observational data from wildlife research parks indicates that lions with minor facial or paw injuries experience measurable declines in hunting efficiency, sometimes by as much as 20 to 30% in solo hunts. In a solitary male, this reduction can determine life or death. Hunger continues to drive necessity, but the lion's approach becomes more calculated. It avoids prey with high risk of injury, targeting smaller, less defensive animals to conserve energy and prevent further trauma. In this way, the porcupine encounter exerts a lasting influence on predator behavior, a single defensive adaptation reshaping subsequent hunting strategy. This is a subtle, persistent influence of evolutionary arms races. Prey defenses modify predator patterns. Predator choices influence prey behavior, and the cycle continues, self-regulated by observation, experience, and consequence.